So we're here with Joe St. Clair, who is the executive director of the Laszlo Institute for New Paradigm Research. So welcome.
Thank you.
Joe, can you tell us the vision of the Institute and your inspiration for being part of this endeavor?
Yes, sure. I think when you talk about the vision of the Institute, the vision is really that of Ervin Laszlo. And I see my job as to make Ervin Laszlo's vision a reality. Ervin is a remarkable man with incredible credentials. A classical concert pianist that was famous around the world in the 1940s. He's worked for the United Nations as an ambassador. He's written 90 books and he's still as active as ever in all different spheres, and particularly in his passion to make the world a better place. And Ervin shared with me that as well as his white papers and his speeches and his lectures and his books and his piano playing, he actually sees the Laszlo Institute as being his legacy. This is the one thing that he wants to be remembered for, perhaps more than anything else.
So this is a legacy project.
Yeah.
And Joe, what's brought you into this work? I mean, is this an area that you've been interested in your adult life, or?
Not really, no. My background is predominantly as a management consultant. So I've spent maybe 25 years working in boardrooms of big corporates all over the world, solving corporate problems. And I did that for a while, working for other companies, and then went freelance and found my own contracts. So I started off solving corporate problems, and very often that translated into people problems. So I ended up life coaching, helping people sort out their lives and have a life plan and a program and strategy. And that led me into looking at society in the wider context and the troubles of the world, which led me on to the works of Ervin Laszlo. So for many, many years, I've been collecting Ervin's books and reading them with passion.
Interesting.
And I thought, this guy knows how to solve world problems, because he takes a radically different approach from everyone else who mistakenly thinks you can solve the world's problems with science. And Ervin realises that you cannot do that with science, because sometimes science creates more problems in trying to find solutions, and treats the world in a fragmented, reductionist way. Whereas he recognises the world as integrated and connected, and he realised that long before anyone else did. So I was just very, very fortunate to meet my hero, Ervin Laszlo, a few years ago, and I just went to shake his hand and ask him to sign the book. That led to us having a meal out together, which led to him inviting me to his villa in Tuscany, where for a solid week we talked about saving the planet. And then he brought me here, he showed me the Institute, asked what I would do if I was running it. I told him, and then he asked me if I would run it.
Wow. So you're essentially living your dream.
Totally, probably more than ever in my life, yes.
And so you've stepped into something that might not have been a pragmatic choice.
That's right. No, I think it was more of a spiritual journey and a series of synchronicities that led me to Ervin at the right time in my life. And when I realised what he was trying to achieve with this institute, I thought, there is nothing I would rather do than help him not only achieve his vision, but also bring together leading edge thinkers from around the world who are dedicated to finding solutions to man's problems in different disciplines: physics, education, business, leadership, health, medicine, spirituality.
Story?
It's all a story. It's all a living mythology.
So, Joe, do you have in your life a sense of mission?
Totally. I think the mission has always been there, under the surface. And it was a mission where the voice was in the brain for a long, long time, which I ignored. And every time the little voice came and said, you should be on your mission, I said, no, I'm too busy being a management consultant and a freelance writer. So it wasn't until a kind of wake-up call, a spiritual wake-up call in July 2011, that changed the course of my life completely and made me kind of put the past behind me and then set out on my new journey.
Can you share with us what that wake-up call was?
It's a long story which has been developed into a book, an unpublished book as yet, but in simple language, in simple terms, well, I say simple, it's not that simple, but I was contacted by a person, a being of a higher spiritual vibration than most of humanity, who some people might call an angel, but I don't generally use that term, who said her mission was to wake people like me up because we were not following our path, and we needed to be because it was important that we did, and we were here for a mission and a reason, and it was a kind of metaphorical slap around the face, wake up, do what you're here to do, and stop messing around being a management consultant. And I'm glad I had the slap, and I'm glad I followed the path.
So, I think I've heard this story before. I've heard this story before a number of times in the past year. Do you have a sense that there's a collective of us who are here at this particular time in the history of humanity?
Absolutely, and I know it for a fact because this lady, her name was Estrella, and
say her name again.
Estrella. And she said her mission in life was to wake up what she calls sleepers. And sleepers are people who are here for an important purpose to help humanity, but that mission is buried in their subconscious. So they're not always conscious. They might be policemen, they might be doctors, they might be doing menial tasks because they don't realise what their true mission is. So Estrella distinguishes between humanity as a general term and sleepers, and there are thousands of sleepers, and there are a number of these higher spiritual beings amongst us, and they're here to wake up the sleepers, and they wake them up in a very physical way. It's not airy-fairy new agey stuff.
Right.
They walk into your real life and they shake you up and they say, get on your mission, you're here for more than you think. And when you realise it internally, you have no choice but to follow your mission.
Joe, do you remember when that mission was agreed to?
Well, according to Australia, it was a mission I agreed to in my past life.
In a past life?
But it's buried in the subconscious. So it's not until someone of the right vibrational level gives you a clear message that you take it. And not all sleepers awaken to it. Some sleepers are awakened and then say, no, that's too difficult. No, I want to slip back into my old human ways, I'm more comfortable. But there are thousands being woken up every day, and they're all like-minded individuals who want to make a difference.
So, Joe, if you could speak to another sleeper who's hearing this call right now, what would you say to them?
Well, the interesting thing is when you have the wake-up call, and when you start following your path, Estrella told me that I would recognise other sleepers myself. So I've kind of taken on her role of waking up sleepers. So I now, in a crowd of people, maybe 20, 30 people in a room, I can see the sleepers and I can distinguish them from other people. So yeah, my job every day is to make contact with those sleepers and help in their transition.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for sharing this. I just want to go back one last question.
Yes.
As a child or as a young man, did you have a sense of purpose? I mean, did you have the sense you were here for a reason?
I did, but I wasn't consciously aware of it because when Estrella contacted me, I was a very hard-nosed business management consultant who didn't believe in angels, didn't believe in higher beings, so she had a job of convincing me. And when I said that I didn't really believe everything she was telling me, she said, well, you've known this since your childhood. And I said, no, I haven't. And then she told me things about myself that only my mother knew. And she reminded me of maybe 10 incidents in my childhood. And when I recalled them, I realised, wow, yeah, I didn't really understand what that was about, And she said those were the messages. And that really woke me up. Typical examples would be I started writing songs and playing music in a band when I was a teenager. And some of the songs, I don't know where the lyrics came from. They just came in my head, and I wrote them down and I played them in a band, but what they meant, I had no idea. She told me to go back into my files and read songs I'd written at 16 years old, and when I reread them, it was all about being on a spiritual mission and what I was here for.
Wow.
So, and I'd written books that I didn't understand that had almost kind of been channeled to me. Mm-hmm. And then when I reread those books, years later, I thought, yeah, I didn't know where this story came from, but it's a story about what I'm here for. And she reminded me of all these things that had happened in my childhood, and many, many more. So she convinced me that the signs were there all the time, but I'd chosen to bury them in the subconscious. And she said, no, bring them to the conscious, use them.
Has she given you any timeline for the current mission?
Not really, but it was July 2011 when Estrella came into my life. She departed in December 2012, and probably around December 2011, she said that within 3 or 4 years, I would be managing a research institute and bringing together important people from around the world and bringing together people with a spiritual and kind of environmental activism background to make a difference to the world. And at the time, I said to her, I can't believe that. Why are you saying this? Because I'm a management consultant in boardrooms helping corporates. Why do you think I'm going to be, why would anyone take me as a research, to run a research institute into human consciousness and development and other disciplines? So I didn't believe her at all. But I kept a diary, and she predicted in December 2011 that I would be doing this now. So that's very poignant, I think.
So that brings us back to the Institute. Can you tell us what the goal, the long-term objectives of the Institute are? Well,
my job is to, as I said earlier, is to bring Ervin's vision into reality. And if I can do that, then I'll be very proud. And his vision is to do just what I've been explaining. Is he's very, very well connected. He knows people around the world who are experts in a cutting edge field, whether it's quantum physics, whether it's new ideas and theories in education, whether it's to do with business, leadership, climate change, pollution, human rights. Ervin knows who to invite, but he's not a businessman. So he needed someone to bring all the different parts of the equation together in terms of making it profitable, making it realistically workable, doing the logistics, and eventually getting it to a level where it's a world recognised institution that is here to really, ultimately, it's a bit of a cliche, but save the planet as best we can. Because if we've got the experts in their fields and we're bringing them together and building a sense of community, a growing community with a voice, then I think we'll be unstoppable. And so I see my vision as just making this a world-class institution and making Ervin's kind of vision come to reality and just doing the best I can at the job.
I very much appreciate the synergy of the two of you coming together in this and your assistance in bringing that vision to the world. So, and I thank you for sharing the story of your wake-up call with us, and wish you really just all the best in this mission.
Thank you. It's an absolute pleasure.
Well.